Unless they pay him enough to just go away.
That's possible.
Or do other things to make him go away. It is the PIF.
Yeah. Shark attack.
Welcome back to the Unrestricted Vex, the Bulldog, RC Carnahan, and Bob. What's up, y'all?
We got a new world champ.
We do, and it's the Denver Nuggets, man.
First time, last time?
It's not going to be their last time, but it is their first time. Look, they just destroyed the Heat. I can't believe how many people really felt like the Heat were going to be in this series at any point. What did I predict? 5 games.
Boat race.
Yeah, boat race, 5 games.
The gentleman's sweep.
That game could have gone a different way.
It could have. It looked like the kind of game the Heat usually steal for a minute.
Well, the Nuggets were cold as ice from everywhere outside like the paint.
That's a great song.
And
you're as cold as ice. All right. Willing to sacrifice your love.
This musical interlude brought to you by
Walk Radio.
Yeah, and then they started to hit, and man, was that game physical.
Yes, it was.
And it almost was like the referees were like, you boys just don't bring in the chair.
It reminded me of historically of a lot of game 7s where everybody's tight and the game just kind of turns into a rock fight and it gets extra physical and the game isn't won by shooting or by necessarily skill. It's won by the little plays. Like I'm thinking specifically of Bruce Brown's offensive rebound and then put back.
Oh my God, yeah.
How good was that? That's how that game got won. And like Michael Porter Jr., you mentioned he was ice cold shooting, but he hit one big 3 from the left wing that I think was a huge bucket and turning point in that game. And he made a bunch of little plays cutting to the rim last night where it was definitely his best game of the series, in a series where his coach had benched him, in crunch time, and did so again last night. But, it was won by the little things, making the little plays. I mean, look, the final score looks like a game from, 2001, 1998? I mean, good night.
And it was close up until probably 5-6 minutes. It seemed like at the end where Denver did run out and then Miami was chasing.
Yeah, and then you have the Jimmy Butler 2 consecutive threes and then fouled on a 3. And it's like, oh, this game is not over.
That wasn't a foul.
That was not a foul.
No shit.
As a matter of fact, he kicked that dude in the dick.
Yes. Van Gundy
As a matter of fact.
Van Gundy and Mark Jackson go, I don't know. That could be a flagrant the other way for kicking the dude in the huevos.
And Adebayo and Jokic, I was expecting Vince McMahon to come out and say, let's get ready to rumble.
Those two were so out of gas that they were just in a wrestling match.
Did you see, like the celebration and all that jazz, they show a close-up of Jokic's hands. They're all cut to shit.
Oh, his
forearms.
I don't know whether it's because he's so doughy looking, but he comes out of every game with just huge scratches. And maybe it's just more visible on his skin. But yes, I did notice that.
He was all, I was like, what happened?
Like
Does he have chicken pox?
He got in a fight with a cat. Yes. Jokic is so cool. And I think we can definitely say he's the best player in the league.
I don't think the league wants to say that.
But he is.
Yeah.
He is. And if you're starting your franchise tomorrow to win a championship for next season, he's your first draft pick, is he not?
It's got to be.
So, whether he's the MVP or not, he's the best player in the league. And Denver did a great job of building out the team around him. Already mentioned Bruce Brown, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Does Kentavious Caldwell-Pope look like he's going to make every single open 3? He just doesn't look like he's going to miss. Now, he did last night, but what?
No, I just...
You gave me a funny look.
I just had a leaker.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
They did a great job of building out that roster. Aaron Gordon seems to be like the perfect muse for Jokic. And the Jokic-Murray pick and roll, when the game got stagnant, when there was really nothing else to do for Denver, they just said, okay, we're playing our 2-man game. Miami's going to have to figure out how to guard it. Miami decided to switch it, which I thought was a little bit crazy because they wound up with a smaller player guarding Jokic inside 15 feet from the bucket, and Jokic did just enough, made just enough of those one-on-one buckets to get over the hump and win this game, right? I mean, he took Caleb Martin to the rack, right? And Miami refused to send a double team, and that's how the game was won.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And hats off to Miami for putting up a fight with a squad that top to bottom wasn't as good as the Denver Nuggets.
No doubt about it.
Top to bottom, they weren't as good as 80% of the teams in the playoffs.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, for real, their roster doesn't look like it.
You're not
But they just
scared.
happen to win games.
Yeah.
Against good teams. I mean, let's not forget they beat the Bucks, for God's sakes.
All we do is win. I can't sing.
Don't
Yeah,
do it.
you
Don't
should-
do it. Leave it to him.
You're offending Vanilla Ice.
So Bill Simmons, the great writer and former ESPN guy, says that this Nuggets team is the best championship team that he's seen in 5 years. So since the Warriors of 2018. I believe that. I mean, I think they're better than Milwaukee last year. I do think they're better. I do think they're better than all those teams in that 5-year span. But then, as is normal, I get the text messages from my Spurs fans that say, what would this team do against our 14 team?
Yeah. Well, and we talked about this a little bit before the show. Jokovic says, I pattern how I play with Tim and the teams when they had the big three.
There's a lot of parallels there. I mean, Jokic is not on his last leg the way Duncan was in 14, but the way they run concentrically around Jokic at the top of the key reminds me very much of the way the Spurs did it with Timmy, the dribble handoffs, and it just seems to always be clicking and moving, guys running in circles around Tim Duncan / Jokic. Yeah, there is a lot of similarity in just the visual of the way they play. But I'm here to tell you, they do not beat the Spurs of 14.
Nah.
Do not forget Kawhi Leonard was on that team.
Mm.
And not yet the Kawhi Leonard who, spaces out and misses games and whatever else. Like, that was the good Kawhi, right? That was Boris Diaw. Like, I don't know who... Aaron Gordon versus Boris Diaw? ? I don't know, man. That'd be fun to watch. Manu Ginobili against Bruce Brown and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Taking Manu all day.
I think I like Manu. Now, the Jokic versus Duncan thing, Jokic in his prime, Duncan on his last leg, I'd pay to see it, okay? I would pay to see Jamal Murray against Tony Parker. Wow. Speed versus shooting prowess, I would pay to see it. It'd be so cool. This is the time machine that we all wish we could jump into. But I'm here to tell you, no, I don't think they're beating the Spurs of 14.
Yeah, and going the other way in the time machine, all these yahoos out there, they're talking about a Denver three-peat and dynasty and all that. Slow your roll there, Cowboys. I mean, they're set up with the potential to possibly do it, but let's just see it play out.
Well, of course.
There's 31 other teams in the NBA.
You can't crown them yet. I mean, there's an off season to come where Bruce Brown is a unrestricted free agent. I don't know if they get to keep him. Denver has decisions to make like every other team in the league.
We can't crown the Denver Nuggets as a dynasty, but Victor Wembanyama is going to be Rookie of the Year and a Hall of Famer.
That's absolutely
that
true.
will do.
That's absolutely true. We can do that. We can do that. No, crowning him as a three-peat is silly, but, they're kind of a made team. Once you get your championship, you are sort of a made team. Like, don't expect them to not get calls next year in the playoffs. They're going to get them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like being in the bar and holding off going to the bathroom. And once you do, you got to go back to the bathroom a lot.
That's exactly how I thought.
Was that the analogy you were going to make?
That's yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like
He
it's
cuts
just like
you off
that. Bob,
before you can say it.
always stealing my thunder with his hot takes.
It's pretty crazy. Last week, we left this podcast with you asking me a question, Richie. Well, let's go for it.
That question being, now what did the Spurs do?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what do the Spurs do? Because
Season's over. 22nd, first pick, Scoot Henderson.
No.
Oh
It's
my God!
Victor.
Who was the Yahoo on ESPN that speculated that the Spurs should trade Victor Wembanyama out and get a haul of first-round picks?
I have no idea, but that's a buffoon.
I know.
Yeah, that's not happening. It's going to be Victor next week when the draft happens. No doubt about it. Now the question becomes, how do you fill out a team around him? How pressed are you to make sure that you're a competitive team right off the bat? Because there's two schools of thought. If you sit Victor Wembanyama next year for any amount of time and you kind of pseudo tank and you get yourself another lottery pick that goes on the same timeline as Victor Wembanyama, it's interesting, right? That's plan A, right? Or a plan. The second plan is you use your free agent money this summer. You go after guys who are proven veterans. You build out around him, and you basically take yourself out of next year's lottery and put yourself into playoff contention in year one. Now, I don't think there's a bad option between the two.
There's another option.
What's that?
Use the draft capital that they have and whatever they have on the team that is tradable, go back into the first round
This year. Yeah, you're right. That is definitely another option.
and get your point guard.
So you've heard some rumors about that.
I have.
What's the rumor?
Well, they're not going to have enough to get back below 6-7 and get Scoot. That's not going to happen.
No, there's
way.
nothing they can do to trade with Portland to get Scoot.
But there's a possibility that they can get to 8, 9, 10 and grab Anthony Wright out of Arkansas.
Anthony Black?
That's what I meant.
Anthony Wright.
Anthony Black.
Anthony Black.
Yeah.
He's a Texas boy,
Yeah. Where in Texas?
coached by David Peavy.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, yeah. Former Alamo Heights graduate. Absolutely. Won a state title up there.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the real McCoy.
He's big.
He is big. He is a 6'7.5" point guard who flies to the rim, finishes with either hand, has great teammate skills, excellent passer, really good defensively when he wants to be.
Yeah.
He cannot shoot at this stage of his career, but a lot of 18, 19-year-olds can't. His fundamentals are okay. Like, I think you put him in a gym with whoever the Spurs' new shooting guy is, and yeah, I would love that. Are you kidding me? Trade back in, use the draft capital. Maybe you let go of Keldon Johnson or somebody like that, and you wind up getting Anthony Black to build on the same timeline as Victor. Yeah, I'd love that.
Well, you've got a starting lineup of Victor, Black, Sochan, Vassell, and Collins.
Yeah.
That's problems.
And you still have the cap space
Right.
to spend. And that's, okay, so here's option B. If Chris Paul gets bought out and you only have to pay $15 million per year, and you give Chris Paul 2 years, $15 million, and you say, hey, brother, come on down, be our point guard with Mr. Victor, throw him a bunch of alley-oops like you've been doing your whole career, and then you spend the rest of your cap space, on Brook Lopez. And to me, Brook Lopez is the key. You get yourself a real center who spreads the floor, same as Victor Wembanyama.
But he can shoot also.
He can shoot, yeah, spreads it that way. But he's also a defensive player of the year kind of candidate in the middle, where he deflects shots. Potentially, he holds down that part of Victor's game that he's not great at, which is going against the most physical of the big guys in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brook Lopez is a key. I promise you the Spurs are going to throw money at him.
He's going to want a lot of money because isn't
That's
this
fine. 20, 25 million for 2 years? Give it to him.
You think he's going to want more than 2 years?
Well, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But like, you give him enough money up front, he's going to be like, okay, fine. I mean, I can't get that from anybody else.
No state taxes.
Yeah, exactly. I get to play with Victor,
Pop,
who he played for on an Olympic team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying Brook Lopez is a key. That's what I would do.
What about Van Fleet?
Defensive liability. a little too much offense, a little too much shoot first mentality for me. Not necessarily a great passer. Probably not the guy I would go after. Probably not.
All right.
Would it surprise me if he was the guy the Spurs settled on? No, not really. But he wouldn't be my first choice.
So do you think they're going to go aggressive, or do you think they're just going to get Victor and play the old wait and see? Because I don't know if Pop's got time to wait and see.
I don't think he has time to wait to see. And here is the second part of this conversation, which I have not heard brought up anywhere else, which is that the collective bargaining agreement ends this summer, right? And the new one kicks in next year, and all of the rules change.
Yeah, more money.
Well, yes, more money. But the rules surrounding trades, Richard, changes very much, where you can't aggregate contracts. Let's say you're a $50 million player, okay? I can't, if I'm the Spurs, add up Devin Vassell plus Dougie McBuckets plus Zach Collins to equal your $50 million player. That rule goes kaput. So if you're going to make the trade splash this summer, or if you're going to make the trade splash, this summer's the summer to make it.
Got it.
Yeah. So I kind of think the Spurs are going to go all in.
They have to.
I think they're going to go balls deep, and I don't see why they shouldn't. You got this, Victor. You won the lottery. Go for it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we know how Tim did when he first came in the league. And by the way, there is so much pressure on this kid around San Antonio to do what Tim did. And if he's listening, which he ain't, if he's listening, Victor, nobody expects you to be Tim right away. Like, Tim was a 4-year college guy. You are 18.
Yeah.
Nobody with more than a peanut for their brain expects him to be that. But we have a lot of peanut brain fans in Spurs land.
Yeah, well, we're all pie in the sky to some degree. But there are expert analysts who say we expect Victor to be the best player in the league by his 3rd season. There are people who say that. Even that is lofty to me.
I mean,
you still have Giannis, Jokic, Embiid. I mean, wow. Really?
I wish the professionals would be a little bit more measured and say he has the potential to be.
Yeah.
We can project him to be. Not he will be.
Yeah.
But just because he does have the potential to will be. And all the work he's done on making sure his lower limbs are going to be good and stable and durable is great, and I believe all of that. But he's still 7'5" in socks.
He had a 19-point, nice stat line game yesterday because you know his team is still playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice stat line. His team lost. The highlights that I watched of him yesterday, holy Moses! There's some stuff that he does that is. It's beyond freakish.
But that team wasn't built to. That team, its primary purpose isn't to win. The Metropolitans, that's not their primary purpose. They were constructed to prepare Victor for the NBA.
That's a fact.
That's the reason why that team was constructed.
That's a fact. Yep. And they're losing, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. I can't believe he's still playing. It's actually a big feather in his cap that he hasn't just said, "Look, peace. I'm going to be the number 1 pick. I'm going to go get a whole lot of money. An injury right now would really derail me. I'm going to keep playing."
Do the Spurs tell him on the 23rd of June, maybe ramp that stuff off?
Yeah, I think it ends right about then, by the way. Like, I think there's only like 2 weeks left.
Well, we got to get him into camp.
Yeah, and there's no chance I'm letting him play Summer League. No chance.
He's playing with us this summer.
Of course he is.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah, but I would not let him play in Vegas.
You wouldn't?
No way. Absolutely zero chance. He's just come off this long playoff, run for the Metropolitans. No way. No way. Zero chance. He's not playing. Just get him to the training facility, man. Let him work with the guys there. You want him to run up and down the floor in practice? Fine. But I don't want to see him in Summer League, and I don't think we will.
I don't think he needs to.
Yeah, he just doesn't need to.
I mean, that's the thing about him versus Scoot and Brandon, or more versus Brandon than Scoot. He's prepared for the professional level. He's been a pro.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller is the one that needs seasoning at an NBA level because he hasn't had that kind of coaching. Scoot is kind of somewhere in
G
between.
League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think he needs it. So to your point, don't put him at risk.
I don't think we're going to see him, and I hope we don't.
No, I hope I see him walking on the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
I'll look up to him.
Yeah. Apparently, he's coming to town here in like 10 days.
Very cool.
Yeah. And there's going to be like a scheduled deal where everybody gets to go meet him at the airport. All
That's
that
pretty
kind of
awesome.
Oh, it's totally sweet. Yeah. I'll let you know when I find out when that's going to be. We'll all go.
You're inside.
Maybe we'll live cast from there.
Okay.
That'd be dope.
That could be done.
Yeah. Really?
Could be.
All right. Exciting. Maybe we should do that.
We're here at the plane. The plane's landed.
It's really loud.
Plane's taxiing. They're. Oh wait, we were told a different gate. Where the hell is it going?
I don't think he's on Spirit, guys.
You know, the other thing that happened last week as we were ending the show, we walk out of here and the world of golf, maybe the world of sport entirely, blows up with the news of the PGA Tour plus PIF combining. Look, we wanted to have somebody on here who was an expert to tell us exactly the ins and outs of what the hell is going on, but we couldn't afford it, folks.
Well, and no one really knows.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It seems like the information is leaking out so slowly, and every expert,
Very calculated.
so-called expert that I listen to, whether it's on the Golf Channel or on a podcast or that I read in like a business journal, I mean, I just have to wonder how much they actually know and how much is conjecture.
See, I don't think it's leaking out slowly. I think they're slowly working out what this is.
I totally agree with you.
And my opinion is the only reason that Jay had that very, very awkward meeting with the players was it was getting ready to be leaked, and he did have to talk to them before it got leaked. I don't know if they know what's going on.
I don't think it's fully baked.
I mean, Jimmy Dunn and who's the Saudi guy?
Yeah.
El Ramim.
Yep, that's it.
Sorry, I'm being offensive to your name and your culture, but I really
Don't remember how to pronounce it.
I don't like sports washing. So, yeah, I don't think we know what it's going to be. There's a lot of speculation.
Am I the only one who was more surprised by the timing of it than anything else?
No,
Like,
you're not.
I just don't get it. The defections to the LIV Tour had essentially ended.
Yeah, you hadn't seen a lot of people jumping ship.
No. And there's the rumor, of course, that John Rahm was about to get a whole bunch of money, but John Rahm had already been offered a whole bunch of money. So, and he turned it down. So the LIV defections had essentially ended. The LIV ratings were in the toilet.
They had
Like-
to pay to be on
Yeah, on their CW or whatever it was.
and then be interrupted by Buffy the Vampire
I
Slayer.
just don't entirely get it, timing-wise, except for to say we know now that the PGA Tour felt like they were going to be bled dry in the courtrooms, right?
Yeah.
And then there's, I think, a second part of that, which Jay Moynihan doesn't want to talk about, which is that if they had gone to court, I think we would have found out that they weren't operating entirely above board as a 501c3, that there may have been collusion. Like, I think that they were intimidated by what was possibly going to come out within these lawsuits. That's the only part of it that I can think would have brought them to the negotiating table, because otherwise, I mean, LIV did not have much of a leg to stand on any longer.
Yeah, and to further on your question of the timing, it's in the middle of the golf season. We're what, halfway through majors?
Yeah, we are.
So why now?
I don't necessarily understand it. And I will tell you that, like, my gut feeling on it is I hate an American sport getting into bed with a foreign government entity, regardless of what country it is, probably made worse by the fact that it is the Saudis, but I don't care if it was the Netherlands. It's ugly getting into bed with another government's entity.
But we like the Netherlands. Wooden shoes and windmills. What's not to like?
Nothing necessarily. But getting in bed with a foreign government is a weird thing. And it is obviously a first in sport. And it should worry, if you're a tennis fan, it should worry you that the Saudis might come after Novak Djokovic and the rest of those guys next and create their own tennis tour, right? It should, because they're private contractors in the same way that golfers are.
Yeah, I mean, they're throwing a lot of money around, whether it's this, Formula One,
Pickleball.
Soccer.
pickleball.
No.
I mean,
Not pickleball.
I mean,
No, not yet.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's Saudi money, but they're soccer.
Yeah.
They're in a bid for one of the Premier League teams right now.
Now, owning a team doesn't gross me out nearly as much as owning the whole fucking sport.
It's going to be
Well,
interesting to
it's-
see what plays out.
Yeah, and right now I was reading this morning trying to understand what the hell's going on, and I still don't. There's a senator somewhere in our legislature, federal Senate, that's looking into investigation of what's going on.
Oh, when Brandel Chambly says this thing ain't over yet, I completely agree with him.
Oh, it's
Like,
over.
Oh, no. I do not think this merger is completely done yet. The DOJ is going to get involved.
Well, how? Why?
Why? Because you're getting...
Collusion.
Yeah. Antitrust.
The PGA was already antitrust.
Well, yeah, but they were a 501c3, which made them kind of look like they were okay. When you become a for-profit entity and you cut everybody else out, that brings the possibility of an antitrust lawsuit. I do not think that this is all said and done. And by the way, let's also remember that the PGA Tour is going to try to throw as much money as they possibly can at the guys who stayed and didn't defect to LIV.
They have to.
They have to. Because if they don't, what happens? The players just don't play. They go, F you, we're not playing. Like, it is so easy in that sport to have a player strike. I mean, if Rory and 5 other guys say, well, we're not playing until we get our dough,
Yeah.
like, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and Richie was talking this morning that they're looking at equity for these guys that stayed behind. I don't know. It's with the details are still being fleshed out. I don't think they're leaking out. I think they're just kind of working it out, trying to figure out what to do.
Well, since this was apparently done over like a round of golf and a lunch in London, I think it's safe to say that they wouldn't have their T's dotted and their I's crossed.
According to the reporting at Sports Illustrated, this began at 7:10 a.m. on April 18th when Jimmy Dunn sent the WhatsApp to Yasser.
What's up?
Then he met him in London, and then they met again in Italy, and then they met again in San Francisco.
I don't know.
I think basically they just try to put a lid on it.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, let's stop this, and then we'll figure it out as we go. There's going to be different entities, like the PGA Tour is still going to be a not-for-profit.
They are?
They're going to form a new entity with Saudi that is for-profit. The profit sharing for the players that stayed will come out of that. They're going to decide what they want to do with LIV. The Shark is not going to have a job. No tear shed here.
He's going to have a lot of time in the courtroom, though. I bet he comes out with legal bullets firing.
Unless they pay him enough to just go away.
That's possible.
Or do other things to make him go away. It is the PIF.
Yeah. Shark attack. No, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's kind of it's an ugly mark that it's still ugly.
Yeah. I know everybody shits on Brandel Chambly, but I care about the guy who actually sticks to his morals. And like I don't know. He takes a lot of shrapnel for a guy who just has an opinion and sticks to it. And like, whether you like it or not, I kind of respect it.
Yeah.
But God, does he take a lot of bullets. Speaking of golf, our boys, the Meisner brothers, I don't know if you're paying attention to the Corn Ferry, but they are doing really well. Mitchell had like a top 10 just the other day. Mac had a top 3, I believe it was, last week. They're doing great. God, I hope they go
Good
to
for
the PGA
them.
Tour. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a feather in our cap.
Yes, it is. Speaking of nothing,
Okay, great.
did you guys see the Oklahoma softball team just rip through the competition?
Did you not pay attention to my comments last week?
I remember you saying it.
Okay.
But were you prepared for their post-game press conference
I was not.
where they proselytized like they were, I don't know, Jimmy Graham?
I don't know.
You didn't see it?
I didn't see it yet.
Okay, play it.
Players, I know you talked about keeping the joy of the game, but I'm curious, it's a long season, right? And you guys have had the target on your back the entire time, the win streak being number one. How do you handle the unique pressure that comes with that? How do you keep the joy for so long when anxiety seems like a thing that could very easily set in?
Well, the only way that you can have a joy that doesn't fade away is from the Lord. And any other type of joy is actually happiness that comes from circumstances and outcomes. I think Coach has said this before, but joy from the Lord is really the only thing that can keep you motivated, just in a good mindset, no matter the outcomes. Thankfully, we've had a lot of success this year, but if it was the other way around, joy from the Lord is the only thing that can keep you embracing those memories, moments, friendships, and all of that. So that's really the only answer to that, because there's no other way that softball can bring you that, because of how much failure comes in it and just how much of a roller coaster the game can be.
1,000% agree with Grace Lyons. I went through that my freshman year. I was so happy to win the college. I've talked about this before, but I was just so happy that we won the College World Series, but I didn't feel joy. I didn't know what to do the next day. I didn't know what to do for that following week. I didn't feel filled, and I had to find Christ in that. And I think that is what makes our team so strong, is that we're not afraid to lose, because if it's not the end of the world if we do lose. Yes, obviously we've worked our butts off to be here and we want to win, but it's not the end of the world because our life is in Christ, and that's all that matters.
Sorry, this is kind of long, but keep listening.
I think a huge thing that we've really just latched onto is eyes up. And you guys see us doing this and pointing up, but we're really like fixing our eyes on Christ. And that's something where, like they were saying, you can't find a fulfillment in an outcome, whether it's good or bad. And I think that's why we're so steady in what we do, and our love for each other and our love for the game, because we know this game is giving us the opportunity to glorify God.
Oh my gosh.
I just think once we figured that out and that was our purpose and everyone was all in with that, it's really changed so much for us. And I mean, I know myself, I've seen so much of a growth in myself with once I turned to Jesus and I realized how he had changed my outlook on life, not just softball, but understanding how much I have to live for, and that's living to exemplify the kingdom. And I think that brings so much freedom. And I'm sure everyone's story is similar, but we all have those great testimonies that have really like shown how awesome it is to play for something bigger. And I think that's just what brings me so much joy. And no matter the outcome, whether we get a trophy in the end or not, this isn't our home. And I think that's what's amazing about it, is we have so much more. We have an eternity of joy with our Father, and I'm so excited about that. And yes,
That'll
I live
be
in
enough.
the moment.
Said, when did Oral Roberts purchase the University of Oklahoma?
That's exactly what I thought. I would have no problem with this if this was Oral Roberts University or Baylor or any private school that was a private Christian school. But this is OU. This is a state school in a post-game press conference. Okay, obviously I have my reactions as a Jew. It kind of makes me uncomfortable, but I want to hear from you two.
It's a lot,
It's a lot.
and it's and they're lockstep on it.
Well, these three are.
Yeah.
Did
Remember
anybody
the
else
part
get to
where she
speak?
said, everybody got on board? Did they? What about the girls, on the bench who are maybe like a little less Christian? Not even atheist or Jewish or Muslim or whatever, but like, what if they were just not quite as devout as these girls? How do you think they felt?
I don't know. It's a little bizarre.
Go ahead, Bob, because you looked like you were going to fall out of your seat and pass out a couple times there.
The language. I mean, great. I mean, I love the fact that you have your faith. And this is kind of my problem with athletes and the whole God thing. All glory goes to God. Thank God that I just caught this ball. Thank God I hit it out and it didn't go foul. All glory to God. Fine. If you lost this season, would you be in a press conference going, the joy is in the Lord? It doesn't matter that we lost 32 games straight. The joy is in the Lord. And we praise the Lord for our losses as much as we praise the Lord for our wins.
You never hear that comment.
You never hear that comment. You never hear that. That's my problem.
That is a problem. I would add another one to it. It demeans the team that you beat. Like they were less holy, right?
Yeah, maybe.
There was I don't know. Do either of you guys watch Survivor at all?
20 years ago.
So a bunch of years ago, there was a contestant on Survivor. I think she was on Facts of Life, and very, very devout Christian woman. No, one of the Caucasian girls.
Blair.
Actually, I think it was.
Yeah, Blair's a big
and
disciple.
they were talking with her about it, and they were kind of teasing her about, not teasing, but teasing her to say, all glory to God. And she was like, if God's got more important things to do than to see if I win this game, there's a whole lot more. And if I'm going to ask for that, I'm a selfish little, twit.
Yeah.
So that's my feeling on all of that.
That was
to the other team.
Biggest proselytization that I can ever remember seeing at a post-game press conference. And that's from any school. Like, if Oral Roberts had won, I might have expected it, but still it would have been over the top. But to see OU do it, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I'm happy they're happy with their spirituality, but wrong place, wrong time. Keep that shit to yourselves. I'm sorry. It grosses me out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm grossed out.
It grosses me out.
It was just...
It makes me uncomfortable.
Unexpected.
I'm going to preface this with, great, you have faith. I love that. You do you.
Yeah.
You go and do you, whatever brings you peace and everything. And I know it's honestly held, and their faith is honestly held. But is this different if this is University of Massachusetts or New York University? This is Oklahoma, which is kind of in the middle of the Bible Belt. I would almost like to see a little bit of pushback.
I would too, but there hasn't been.
There won't be, not in Oklahoma.
There's not an article written. Go look. There's not an article written about, girls, that was like a little bit over the top. There is plenty of Facebook posting about this, like, way to go, girls,
Oh, God. You know what I want to do? We talked about ChatGPT.
Oh, God, he says.
Yeah, oh, God.
You got that right.
That's non-religious specific. No, what I want to do is take this into ChatGPT and change their words around, and it's not Christ, it's Allah.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's Islam. And then I want to see what the people in Oklahoma say.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, you people in Oklahoma and all across the country, if you don't react to that the same way you reacted to this, then you are a bigot and a religionist and a hypocrite.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. That's something I thought about. And then the other thing I was thinking about is this some sort of a recruiting tool? Like, does OU now only recruit girls who are, these kind of Bible bangers? Like, if you're a stud player from God knows where, from, let's just say, Massachusetts, are you like, well, OU's not going to want me because I'm not like that?
I mean, you walk into your clergy's room and go, "Hey, Rabbi, I'm getting recruited from Oklahoma. What do you think about that?"
Yeah.
Oh, let me show you something.
Yeah. I don't know. I find it so misplaced. I'm sorry.
You know what I find interesting?
Tell me.
That you even found that clip.
Hey, I told you I was into the girls softball. I told you I was. Like, I enjoyed watching that team play. And had I known that they were going to do that in the press conference, I would have rooted harder against them. I mean, they were the juggernaut. I was kind of rooting against them anyway, because they had one loss in like the last 2 seasons or whatever it is. I mean,
who'd they lose to?
I don't know. Some very lucky team.
Somebody that's got a lot of joy in their heart.
God love that other team more.
Yep.
Well, boys, on that note, I got to get out of here.
Me too.
Yep. Hey, I enjoyed it, man. And
always.
Congratulations to the Nuggets.
Yeah.
We have a great NBA draft and Spurs offseason to look forward to. We're going to have plenty of material this summer for us to cover.
Yeah, I feel like this summer is a positive summer. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's very different than past summers for us.
Yeah, last summer was kind of the doldrums.
Yes, it was. Spurs concerned, yeah.
Whew.
I mean, congratulations to the Nuggets. Congratulations to OU. And almost congratulations to the Vegas Golden Knights. We're kind of getting into a little bit of a lull as we come out of these championships and these World Series before we get to what everyone really cares about.
Football.
NFL minicamp.
You're so right. Peace. See you next week on the Unrestricted.
How y'all feel out there? Do you feel good? I said, do you feel good? Come on. The groove feel good when it make you move. Make your next move your best move. I said the groove feel good when it make you move. Make your next move your best move. It feel good, don't it? It feel good. It feel good cause you know it's good.